Hey guys, welcome back to Outdoor Asylum. Right out with Elite Duck Calls. Got David St. John here with me as always.
What's up?
How much? What's up with you?
What's up, man? Running and gunning.
Running and gunning, tuning calls, getting
Yes.
orders out, orders out.
Yep.
Guys, thanks for joining us again. Remember, I know with everyone says it on a podcast, but subscribe to our channel, like and share. Really appreciate when we see you sharing this with your friends. Seems like the podcast's starting to get out there a little bit more, getting a lot more views and things like that. So we really appreciate you guys following us and sharing it with your friends. It really does mean a lot to us. Really helps us out. So, well, man, I think I'm going to tell a hunting story today.
No doubt.
No doubt. I've got a bunch. I've got several good ones, as I know you do too.
Oh, yeah.
Some of ours occurred with us actually together. But anyway, so let me tell you this story, okay? It's like all stories. It'd be funnier if you knew the people involved, but still, it's a pretty good one. Now, I grew up hunting on Cache River. My dad owned some property there that's now in the national refuge there, Cache River Refuge, here in Arkansas. He had a partner, and his best friend was a gentleman that's passed on now. His name is Jimmy Ballard. His nickname was Frog. And it was kind of funny because my dad is like me. I got my height from my dad. He's about 6'3", and then Frog was a little small guy. I think that might be how he got that nickname. Had another gentleman named Philip Nance, who was the duck caller of the group. So there's one guy that really got me started duck calling. It was Mr. Philip, as I called him. And then Frog had a son named Danny that was a young man at the time that was hunting with him. Now, this happened actually before I got to go, so I'm not telling this from firsthand experience, but I have talked to all parties involved, and this is, like I said, this is absolutely one of my favorites. Now, give you a little background on my dad. Dad's definitely one that got me started hunting and got my love of hunting. Dad also had a pretty weak stomach. And growing up, he didn't like, I'm a big dog lover. My dad was not. He did not like us having like pets in the house. We didn't have a dog. We didn't have a cat. We nothing like that. And one thing he used to tell me, he said, man, I hate even going into to someone's house where they've got a dog inside. He said, man, we eat lunch or something like that. He said, I feel like there's like a hair in my plate or something all the time. I mean, he just couldn't stand it. It was just always a little thing that bothered him. So I'll try to set the stage here on what it was like when we actually hunted. Now, we hunted, we would go down Cache River, and then we pulled into, there was a slough, a pretty deep water slough that opened up into a small lake. We would call it a lake. It'd be a small lake. It actually had a nickname. They called it Noah's Lake. And it's funny now, like that's a real popular spot for guys that like to hunt the public ground now on the refuge. They're fighting over this place now, and it's where I was blessed to grow up hunting. But it was deep water, so we were not just standing next to the trees. Most of the time, we had a blind that was built there. So the way that it worked is when we would get there, we would go in a boat, and we would park the boat behind the blind, tie it up. And then it's like there was always a routine. Mr. Frog and Philip would go in, and they would get the coffee started. And when I hunted the water, like what they do, they had the old cast iron pot, the kettle, and they would take it out and they would just dip it in the river. They would just go in there we were drinking river water, so they would make instant coffee out of it. And then like hot chocolate for me, for the young kid that was there. Like I said, I think I was about 6 years old whenever I started hunting there. And this was actually probably a couple years before I got to go. But that was the routine. You would pull up the boat, you tie everything up. Philip and Frog would go inside, and they would turn the heaters on. Had gas heaters, had a little warming room that was built into the blind. They would get that started. They would get the coffee started. They're getting all that together. And then my dad and Danny at the time, the younger guy. This was my job once I finally got old enough to go. His job was to get everything out of the boat. So we get everyone's gun out of the boat, take them out of the cases, set them where everyone was going to be standing. They would get the shells and anything else that we brought along for the hunt. They would get it out of the boat, and then they would get the boat covered up, camouflage good, and then good to go. Well, one problem, they had a little pantry thing that they would keep in the blind that was in the warming room, and they would keep food in there, crackers, snacks, whatever else that they wanted. Well, they had trouble with mice getting into it, so they'd put out some rat poison to kill the mice to try to get rid of them. Well, while Dad was and Danny were getting everything out of the boat, getting it situated, they walked in, Philip and Frog, they walk in, and there is a mouse that's basically on its last leg. It is just near death, walking in the middle of the blind. And so they're getting the coffee and everything ready. Well, they decide they're going to have a little bit of fun with my dad and with Danny. So they took this mouse. They'd made their coffee. Philip made himself 2 cups of coffee. And in 1 cup, he took this dead mouse and he dropped it down into the coffee and set it off to the side. And then he had his other cup that he was drinking out of. Now, you got to keep in mind, everything's dark at this point. We're waiting on the sun to come up. So, they get everything set, come back in, and they're all sitting in the dark just talking, just kind of shooting the breeze and waiting on the sun to come up. And after everyone had finished, about half their cup of coffee, Philip, gosh, I wish I had a recording of his voice where you could hear it. He had a deep voice, and he would talk pretty slow, and he said, Frog, he said, shine that light over here. I got a hair or something in my coffee. So, and Frog being in on the joke, he shines the light over there, and he takes a little branch. They had covered up, this guy, trying to camouflage the blind with it. He broke a little branch off, and he shined the light right on it, put it down there, made sure that everyone could see it. And he stirred the coffee that had the mouse in it. So he stirs it, and then all of a sudden this dead mouse floats to the top. Now, in everyone's mind, they have now drank coffee that had the water boiled with this dead mouse boiled in the water. So in their minds, it was in that coffee pot, in that coffee kettle. So they had all been drinking basically dead mouse water as they were drinking their coffee. So you can imagine my dad's response. Like, he just immediately jumped up, shouted some profanity that I probably shouldn't repeat on the podcast here in case we got kids watching. But he rears back and he throws his cup of coffee just like a baseball, just throws it as hard as he can, collapses back on the chair. And they said Danny just slumped down and just started like he just poured his coffee out and he just sat down staring at the floor. And they're just trying not to get sick. And Dad, they said he just immediately just started turning white. So he barrels out and gets out of the warming room, goes out on the little porch where we would shoot, and he just starts just basically puking his guts up. He is just vomiting uncontrollably, thinking about this dead mouse. You can imagine, he doesn't want to have a pet inside. He's afraid he might have a hair in his food. He just now drank some dead mouse water, and he's about to lose. So he's just out there just lurching his guts up, puking off the side. Well, Danny hears Dad puking, so he barrels out of there too, and now he's next to him, and he's puking his guts out. So now you've got Frog and Philip, the ones that pulled the prank. They're laughing, but the prank was a little bit better than worked out a little bit better than what they thought. It went better, and they hear them out there puking. Well, they're looking at each other thinking, now, my dad in his younger days, he had a little bit more of a temper. they're scared to tell him what they did. They don't want to confess to the crime. They want to enjoy the joke, but at the same time, they really don't want to tell this because they're afraid that when Dad finally gets his legs back from under him, gets them underneath him after he's been out there puking, that he's going to be pretty upset. So I don't think they actually told the truth for a couple of weeks to tell him that it was actually a prank and that he didn't drink the dead mouse water with his coffee that morning. But that's always been one of my favorite stories, and I think that's one of the reasons, like, for me, I think all of us at some point we fall in love with hunting. There's almost something that you can look at as a moment that you knew that, you look back with such fondness and you remember. For me, I think it was the first thing I did. I fell in love with just spending time with my dad and those guys. They were so much fun to hunt with. It wasn't about how many ducks we killed. I really hadn't discovered duck calling at this point to really love that. But I enjoyed playing with the duck call and trying to imitate, what Mr. Phillip was doing with it. But just being with those guys out there and having fun. And I think that's the cool thing about hunting in general. It's the funny stories. It's the camaraderie. It's pulling the pranks on your buddies, that's the fun part. So one thing I want you guys to do. All right, so I told you a hunting story. Now we want to hear yours, okay? So in the comments, you can tell us a little bit about a hunting story that you have. It's something lengthy. You can actually send us an email. Send us an email to info at elitecalls.net, and we'll read through these. If you've got a funny hunting story, you don't mind typing it up, sending it to us, we would love to hear it. And we're going to share some of these on the podcast. Some of the better ones, we'll probably read them on here. We'll share them. So if you guys have got a funny story, something that we share on the podcast, we'll send you some swag. We'll send you some, hat, T-shirt, some different things here. We'll send you a prize if we read yours on the air. So we would love to hear your story. Share this with your buddies too. Everyone's got a story. Everybody's got at least one really good story that they love to tell whenever they go duck hunting. So we'd love to hear yours. So send that to us. Like I said, info@elitecalls.net. Can't wait to read them.
Oh man, I don't know that I would have puked because of the joke of the mouse in the water or whatever, but just I eat ditch food anyway. But hearing someone else step out the back of the blind and start throwing up.
Does that bother you when you hear other people throwing up? Yes. It gets you throwing up? Yes,
it gets me unbelievable. I'm the one that starts going, and I try to get away as fast as I can, and then sometimes it's just too late.
I saw something like this on the social media the other day. It was like Facebook. They were showing someone that, and like you just making that sound. Like they were so sensitive to it that just as a joke, they would make that sound. They kind of gag, and then it makes them like really start gagging too and run. They have to run away from that sound, because they're going to start puking.
Yeah, there's a guy that does that to his wife or girlfriend or whatever because he knows. And he'll just look at her and go, and then she starts, and she goes, "You gotta stop!" And he goes, and she'll, and they're back and forth, and it's just like he knows, and he just films her every time he does it. And she just can't hold back; she has to take off running from him.
I can't stand. I hate mice. Like I wish those two mice had made on the Noah's Ark. I hate them. I absolutely despise them. Had one got in my truck the other day, and I've had them get in my vehicle. You ever had one get like behind your dash or something? I had that happen one time. I got behind the dash of my vehicle, died.
Ugh.
And then
I've been in someone's vehicle that's done that.
Oh, it's horrible. And it's right there like when you turn the air conditioner on, all you do is you get a bigger shot of that smell that just hits you right in the face. It was in the summertime too, so it was that was misery. And I think that's where my real hatred of mice that's where that came from. I actually love snakes because they eat mice. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, so I don't mind snakes.
Yeah.
But gosh, I cannot stand.
Well, if the mice are around, the snakes are nowhere to be found. Type deal.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so we're getting ready. We're sending some calls out. We got them going out today to Max Prairie Wings. We'll get some more calls with them. We got some calls going out to Rogers.
That's correct.
Pretty soon here, either today or Monday, I guess we'll ship those out. We got a lot of other orders going out to the stores, so people can check out. But We've also got some shows coming up. We got a lot of shows coming in a row. I'm trying to prepare my wife that I may not be around a whole lot, which she may be happy about that. But what's our first one?
The first one we're going to, of course, this next week's 4th of July. And right after the 4th of July, I think we're going like 4 weekends in a row. We start out at Huntsville, Alabama at the Tennessee Valley Hunting and Fishing Expo at the Von Braun Center.
It's weird that it's Tennessee Valley, but
and it's in Huntsville, Alabama.
Huntsville, Alabama.
Yeah, we were there last year. Had a good show. You know, a lot of people showed up out there to that. But that's one of the first shows. You know, we're going to here in a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. The very next weekend, we're going to the Deer Expo down in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, World Deer Expo.
The World Deer Expo. We'll be down there. I think we leave like that Thursday. And there we're in Birmingham all weekend. The weekend after that, we got in this. Fortunate, to made a few phone calls, and we finally got a booth at this Delta Waterfowl in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
I'm really excited. I'm excited about all these shows, but yeah, we initially thought we didn't have a booth there. Told initially that they'd sold out, but. Right. Checked back with them, managed to get a booth in there. So yeah, I'm really excited about going down there to Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I am too. You know, that's a great show. It was a great show up here in Little Rock. They moved it down to Baton Rouge, and fortunate we got in. You know, so finally we got in last week. We finally got in and got a booth. So the very next weekend after that, we're headed to Rogers Sporting Goods for their waterfowl weekend.
Yeah, always a fun time.
Yeah, that's the August 1st, 2nd, 3rd. It'll actually be the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of August. We'll be at Rogers Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
We'll have a little booth set up there. We got, the calls are going out to them probably Monday for this event. So, and actually myself, I'm leaving the following weekend going to Presley's. They've got the contest weekend, their waterfowl weekend's going on up there that very next weekend in August, second weekend in August. So I'll be headed up there to Presley's and judging a few contests. And so it's these next 5 weeks going to be extremely busy. So.
Yeah, we'll be busy. Plus trying to get everything done here in between, having calls ready to go to the shows and getting orders out, things like that. It's going to be a very busy time. But I love going to the shows. It's, it's stressful getting there and getting everything set up, coming home and all that, but I love getting to see, see folks, And
this year we've got new products. We've got some new poly calls that we've got going that we'll have with us at these shows. We've got different color now, some different colored cut downs. We've decided to do the Venom black gold pearl with a black, which looks really sharp with the gold paint. I mean, we'll have a lot of that stuff with us at these shows, a lot of the new stuff this year.
Yeah. And for guys, too, if any of you guys have got a call that you got a leak call already, you want to get a tune-up on it, something like that, bring it to the show. We'll be happy to tune it up for you, get it ready. You can take a look at all the new stuff that we've got. And we always run sales for the shows, too.
Oh, yeah.
You can pick up at a call at a decreased price, and
we'll have some shirts. We'll have some apparel with us as well. Green is King shirt and a Spoon shirt. We'll have a lot of that stuff, and hopefully have some hats and stuff with us as well. Yeah. Reed packs. A lot of guys like to get set up for the season coming up with the reed packs as well. Have the wedges and the cork in there with it.
Yeah, and even if you don't, even if you don't need anything like that, just come hang out with us. It's always a great time. We have fun sitting around there. So we may swap a few hunting stories while we're there. So just come on in and visit with us. If you're in the area of one of these shows, we'd love to have you. Here's your invitation, personal invitation. Come out and see us. We'd love to see you. So
stop by the booth and talk with us and get your call tuned. Bring them with you, and we'll have stuff to do it.
You got any plan? I mean, how are you going to keep your wife? How are you going to keep Michelle from getting mad at you being gone that much?
Well, it's kind of like duck season. For a long time, 45, 50-day duck season, 60-day duck season. I'm hunting, going and hunting and stuff like that. So, hey, it's a business, right?
Mm-hmm. I think I'll be going on to the Tennessee Valley. My wife's birthday's right there, so I've got to make sure we celebrate early. I'm gonna have to really do something good so I don't find the lower deck of the basement of that dog house, you know. So I'm gonna have
and
to,
you got a basement down there.
yeah, I'm gonna have to. I'll have to definitely make it up. But are looking forward to doing all this. So you guys come out and see us. And anyway, thanks for joining us. Remember, we want to hear your hunting stories. Serious about that. So
send them in.
Get those sent in to us. We'd love to hear them. And like I said, we share yours on the podcast. We'll send you some swag. So anyway, thanks for joining us.
Hopefully see everybody at these shows coming up.
Yep, definitely. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.